Garden of Eden?
Cracked soil is usually taken as a symbol of dearth, but in fact it means just the opposite. This is proof that ample rain has fallen at least once this year.
And God had not caused it to rain.
The Red Sea sail across the hills. Now and then they drop their precious load. The rainwater disappears directly into the porous ground. Deep down in some wadis, it re-emerges and keeps flowing all year round.
But God caused the water, see? But a mist went up from the earth and it watered the whole face of the ground.
So do all kinds of life.
Garden becomes. Sudan.
In such permanent oases, creatures of the dry savannah live in immediate vicinity
Gulf of Aden. Aden.
Herons come to the desert to fish. And fish is also the diet of the Medusa turtle.
Aden. Ooh, Aden. Sudan, Eden.
It could be a relic from a time when the climate here was much more humid than it is now.
Alright, so the part I want to see now is irrigation method.
The well naturally regulate the amount of produce. But the few farmers in the Red Sea hills can get by on what they sell to the inhabitants of Sinai.
They sell to the inhabitants. So I'm just showing you that they learned how to farm and irrigate that. This is the story of Adam and Eve in real life. You see, and there's no doubt about it.
Unconcerned about the hustle.
All right, so we can get back to the story. So we've seen where there was no rain. God had not caused it to rain, like the dearth, the desert on the earth. And there was no man to till the ground. So that's the problem. But a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. So the whole ground was watered by the mist that dissipated into the dry. It just got absorbed up into the dry, hilly land. But beneath, right, the water rises up, and they learned how to use this to what? To grow cash crops, right? So God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there eastward in Eden, right? And there he put the man whom he had formed. So now Adam is a laborer. And that's the whole moral of the story. Not that he's the first man. And I'm going to prove this, right? And out of the ground the Lord God made every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. This is cash crop. So flowers, as they showed you, and then food, like the tomatoes that you've seen, right? The tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So it says the tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now a river went out of Eden to water the garden. As we seen, a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it parted and became 4 river heads. Now the Sudan is called the Nile River Valley. If you see, it's called the Nubian caravan. So the Sudan Nubian is where I'm going, and these people are the first people who built pyramids. Okay, but we're going to establish now that the culture that the Egyptians modeled themselves and made on a grander scale came from the Sudan, right? And these are the Moroe pyramids, and you can see it's numerous pyramids in one little graveyard, 220. Brick building is called masonry. So these are the first masons. And if you go from one town to another town to build, that makes you a Freemason. But we'll get into that in the future here. All right, so good for food, pleasant to the sight, the tree of life, the tree of knowledge. Now a river went out of Eden and watered the garden. We've seen that in the Sudan. I mean, we already went past that, but and parting became 4 rivers head. So let's get some specific here. It says the name of the first is Pishun. Pishun is the name of the first river. It is the one which skirts the whole land of Havilah. Havilah is a character, right? And if you look up Havilah, Havilah refers to both a land and people in several books of the Bible. The one mentioned in Genesis 2, 10, 11, that's where we're at now, while the other place thought to be in Africa and mentioned in Genesis 10, 7. Okay, so we're definitely talking about Africa, and we're going to bring that, like I told you, the Bible writer is going to always confirm that. Okay, so we're not going to have to leave in dispute everything. We got to agree with what is obvious. But I'm going to show you that Havilah is mentioned in Genesis 10 as a relative of the African family. Okay, so it says right here that let's go to Havilah, Rondell, find Havilah, right, is, right, a son of Cush. Okay, Havilah referred to the Bible, a land and people in several books of the Bible. One mentioned in Genesis 2. This is what we're analyzing, 2, 10 through 11, while the other place thought to be in Africa and mentioned in Genesis 10, 7. So we're telling you that of course, this is about the African presence in the Bible. So Havilah is mentioned as the son of Cush, which is the Nubian kingdom, right? You know, the ancient Nubia. So we're putting the facts with the allegorical fiction because we're trying to tell you that this allegorical fiction has truth to it. It is truth, but it's being told to you in a story. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. So it says Cush begot Nimrod. Who's Cush? Cush. All right, so the sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Ham is the third son of Noah. Okay. All right, so Noah had Shem, Ham, and Josepheth, and the sons were born them after the flood. Okay. So after the flood, they had sons. All right. And it is going to go through the sons of Japheth. All right. And I'm not saying these are not important, but we're doing the Africanist perspective. All right. The sons, their grandsons, the coastline police, and they're called the Gentiles, right? Were separated in their lands. Okay. Everyone according to his language, according to their families and their nations. The sons of Ham were Cush. Cush, if you look up Cush, it says the southern part of ancient Nubia, first mentioned in Egyptian records of the Middle Kingdom. In the Bible, it is the country of the descendants of Cush. So Cush is the eldest son of Ham, right? Where we're in 10:6, the eldest son of Ham. He's the eldest because he's first mentioned, right? And allegorically, if that's a word or if that makes sense to you, that based off the allegory, he is the southern part. So his character represents the southern part of the ancient Nubia. That's the reason why we're here. Sudan, I just linking you to Sudan, the Nubian people of Sudan, the Kushites, part of the ancient Nubia, okay, first mentioned in Egyptian records in the Middle Kingdom. In the Bible is the country of the descendants of Cush. So in the Bible, where we at, it represents the country of the descendants of Cush, okay, the Kushite people, which are the ones that, once we start going into the Moroe pyramids, we'll learn that the Kushite people still live in the Nile River, close to these pyramids right now to this day. So we're just establishing and if you don't, you got Sheba, Sudan, the sons. All right, so Ham had Cush. We just established that is the first son, which is considered Ethiopia or Sudan. Mizraim, if you look that up, is the Hebrew and Aramaic name for the land of Egypt, right? The dual suffix axiom, perhaps referring to the two Egypts, Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. So that's establishing that there were two Egypts, Upper and Lower, based off the Nile, because the Nile flows north. So Upper and Lower, Upper is really north and Lower is south to us in our mindsets. but it's reversed in their mindsets. So southern Nubia is actually the tip of the Nile, and upper Nubia is in the middle of the Nile from Nubia. So I'll show you the natural progression from Nubian culture, traditions, moving into upper Egypt, and then into lower Egypt, and then out into the land of Canaan. And then Canaan was a little bit more influenced by Mesopotamian and others because of its location, all right, and its trade and its region. And we'll go into all of those details. We're just getting to the basics. Now, Put we have to look up because it's actually a word named Put. So we'll search the word Put. And when you put ancient in front of it, he'll even let you know here. Okay, a biblical figure. Notice it's spelled with an H here when the Greeks put the H in front of it. Put is the third son of Ham. In the biblical table of nation, the name of Put refers to the homeland of the Berbers. Okay, the Berbers lived from Libya backwards. The Moroccans, the Moors, were Berbers before they converted to Islam, right? Which is all a part of what we're going to end up talking. Islam is an Abrahamic religion. This Abraham had two sons, Ishmael, just like I showed you earlier, and the son of Hagar, which was Egyptian, and she found him an Egyptian wife, who made him his sons even more Egyptian. So this is how you doing the blood mixing, and like sheep, like I'm telling you, Abram's seed is in the African woman, making him African Abraham, and then giving his son the birthrights down into Africa. But we're gonna go through that. Sarah, he has his male slave, go to his kindred in Mesopotamia and find Isaac a wife and brought her back, and then Sarah practicing the same racial thing in the north in Syria. So this is the reason why you have the divisions in here Christianity, here Islam, and here Judaism. The head of the bird, the one wing, the left wing. All right. So we'll go into all of those details. Right now we're establishing that Put represents the ancient Libyan territory. All right. So, and then Canaan, which is the whole story is all about Canaan because it's the biblical name of the area of ancient Palestine, west of the Jordan River, the promised land. This is the reason, whole premise here, the promised land. So if you believe in this promise here of the Israelites who conquered and occupied it during the later part of the second millennium BC. So this is where we're talking about. This is the whole setting of the Bible. And then it says the sons of Cush, all right, the son of Cush were, right? So the son of Cush, the son of the southern part of Nubia, the sons of the southern part of Nubia were Sheba, queen of Sheba, right? Dedan. Get what I'm saying here? Sebeka. This is let's look it up. I haven't looked at it before. This is Alien's Bible, Hebrew, belonging to God, was a member of the house. According to Numbers, he was the father. It sounds Egyptian to me, but I'm not going to make any assumptions about when I don't know. Rama, that's going to actually come to play because Nama was a beautiful name mentioned in Genesis, and we're going to come into that later on. But okay, and so we got to agree with the obvious, right? So we're showing you how really to piece together the African history in the Bible, and it does take scholarship. All right, so we establish the difference between created and formed, to be brought into existence, and to be shaped and configured. That man, he was formed because there was no man to till the ground, which is labor, right? And then so this Lord God now, Lord is because he has a landlord, Lord. He has land. Now he has a man who had formed. He's Lord of this man now. So now he's not only a landlord, but he's now a master, because he has a subservient working on his behalf. Now, Lord God planted a garden, and he put the man who he had formed right out of the garden. The Lord God made every tree, but he told this man to stay away from knowledge. This is what you do to slaves. You keep the slaves away from the knowledge of themselves. So I'm not saying anything, but I'm just telling you that this is the blueprint to making a slave or making a kingdom based off of slaves. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just showing you that this is what is being done. And now we're establishing that this is people coming into the land of Africa. They're doing this in Africa. Havilah is the first character mentioned in the Bible. The first human, who we know is the son of Cush. Now, Cush, we know, is Nubia, and today Ethiopia. And how do we prove this? Where there is gold. So the whole thing that they're interested in is, it is the one which skirts the whole land of Havilah where there is gold. This is Genesis 2:11. And gold is mentioned twice. And the gold of that land is good. They didn't need to put it there, right? But they telling you that the gold of that land is good. That is the reason why these pyramids are missing their heads. Roman explorers that rebranded themselves as Italians, no disrespect, but when they came in, they looted the tombs for gold. The people of the dust, the man of the dust, you see the dust there, right? So, bdellium, that's a resin. So now we know we're not talking about a god. Bdellium is a rare resin that is used and only can be it's made from a plant that's grown in a specific region of the world. So you got to have gold in the region, bdellium in the region, right? That's used to make perfumes, right? Related to myrrh, okay? And onyx stones. So 3 different types of items that are valuable to this individual. 3 different things that give you affirmation, confirmation that the attributes of these are people who are treasure hunters. Okay? All right, so I don't know how to get this thing off of me. All right, let's just refresh. So yeah, these things, gold, treasure hunters. Now, I always thought about what type of mentality is a person, can you imagine the type of mindset that you must have to come in and destroy ancient masonry, right? And just to find gold, there is 220 out of them, 190 something of them. They tried to break into loot. Okay. All right. So the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one which goes around the whole land of Cush. The second character mentioned in the Bible. They're Africans, obviously, right? The second character mentioned in the Bible, right? And it's telling you who they are. It's the eldest son of Ham and the grandson of Noah. They didn't tell you that now because Noah's not born yet. But the character, the descendants of Cush are, that land exists. And to even give you even more confirmation, right here in the King James Version, it's the New King Version that he's called Cush. But in the King James Version, it literally says it encompasses the whole land of Cush, Ethiopia. So they're telling you Cush and Ethiopia the same thing. Goes around, encompasseth. So it goes around. So it's surrounding the whole land of Ethiopia, the whole land of Cush, the Nile River Valley. And then there's also the Blue Nile. is also part of that. So I don't want to. Let's just see here what happens when we put the Blue Nile River falls in Ethiopia. Let's go. So we're on the map. We see the Blue Nile Falls here, the Blue Nile, and the names are given to it into modern day is not the exact name of them before, but we do know that this is still consistent with the land of Ethiopia and Sudan, where once one region is chopped up now. But here's what we call Sudan now, the modern border. These were all one land, one nation. So this is why it's called Ethiopia on the map. So we're talking about Gulf of Aden. You flip that around, it's Eden, right? Eden, whatever. But we have a lot of evidence of the geographical Nogi. And we know that this is the old world here. Pretty much here until it became this, centered. So this is really putting real world reference, and even confirm it, listen to the details. It says the one which goes around the land of Cush. The name of the third river is Hiddekel. It is the one which goes towards the east of Assyria. So it is the one which goes toward, not in compass, right? Compass, but this one goes toward east of Assyria. So it's a river that is flowing towards east of Assyria. So you go to a map, and I'm putting this in the Nile River, all right, and because I'm saying it's flowing towards east of Assyria. So it's taking me northern towards Assyria, is what it's telling me. And Assyria is a kingdom, right, that is dated in the 2nd millennium BC, just like Ethiopia. All right. And Syria is what is now called northern Iraq. So northern Iraq is telling us from the early part of 2nd millennium BC, Assyria was the center of a succession of empires. So, like I said earlier, this is the region of Mesopotamia, and in the region of in that country of Mesopotamia, Assyria was a kingdom in the north, and as you can see, even now we have Syria here. Now, the Assyrian people were persecuted later on, but Assyria was known to be a mighty kingdom, okay, a conquering kingdom, fearful, fierce. You see what I'm saying? And there's a lot of history, but it's telling us this is not the beginning of mankind. They're telling you that the kingdom of Assyria is around. The kingdom of Ethiopia is around. You see what I'm saying? We're not talking about the first human beings on the planet. Nations are not are around. And we're talking about the 2nd millennium. We're domesticating sheep. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Not just dogs, right? So we can put timestamps on these stories if we read it again. But they tell you want to hide something, put it in a book. And I'm trying to tell you what they want to hide most is knowledge of ourselves. And we're going into that now. Okay. Because the first part of domesticating an animal is to separate the young, or separate it from its natural habitat and its providers, its mom and dad. So you separate the child and put it in the institution, and then you feed it and get it to trust it. And then you indoctrinate it you train it to do it what you want it to do. And then throughout generation after generation, you breed it to become even more